offers. Anyway, if you're ready to start, I'm ready to count it down. We begin once you select quick start, so I'm going to select it in 3, 2, 1, go. So one thing I wanted to mention right now, before we get into the logistics of this game, is the two main menus actually have RNG cycles. So the mansion is procedurally generated every time. This is Clock Tower for the Super Famicom, Super Nintendo, and it is the best way of playing this by far. It's so much smoother, and it lets us play on a controller. What I'm doing right now is I need to find a key to get into the mid-game. There's 3 sections of this game: the early game, the mid-game, and the late game. I got the key right now, so I'm glad I checked it. All runs of this game will end up being in Japanese. The reason for that is Clock Tower was never actually released outside of Japan on the initial release. So anything on the Super Nintendo, Super Famicom, only Japan. Anyway, before I talk a little bit more about that, since this is the first of the endings, I think I'm going to show you guys what we're up against here. Who are we dealing with? And how are we going to avoid him? Anyway, I present to you Bobby. Also known as the Scissor Man. Also, that's our friend Anne. I really hope you guys like watching her die. It's gonna happen a lot. Anyway, to juke Bobby, we're gonna leave the room and immediately enter. This will be a bit of AI manipulation. Bobby is a lot craftier than you give him credit for, but the problem is he's too crafty. Bobby is way too crafty, so what we're able to do is we can just run back into the room, and he's gonna expect to try to find us. One of the downsides of this category, and of the game in general, Jennifer walks upstairs like her life doesn't depend on it. Normally you'd think someone being chased by a boy with a giant pair of scissors would run up the stairs, but Jennifer isn't about that life. Anyway, while we're finding a place to hide, I'm going to talk a bit about the game. The basic story right now. You play as 14-year-old Jennifer Simpson. And Jennifer and her 3 friends have been adopted by Miss Mary Barrows. Mary has disappeared, and you need to find out what's happening in the mansion. So far, all we know is there is a little boy with a giant pair of scissors running around. We have a panic event right now, and this is going to let us hide from Bobby. I picked this room specifically because we actually need something from this room. The game has 2 modes in general: exploration and chase mode. In order to explore, you have to get out of chase mode. And the game can only be progressed in exploration mode. In addition to, one, finding places to hide, Jennifer can also just do incredible things if she's in chase mode. She has adrenaline, so she can leap this wall. Right now, she can't. I had to talk to that wall because, sadly, Jennifer has to learn. She doesn't pick up things on her own. She doesn't think having this box there would be a good idea. She has to learn things when we do them. And then we can actually go talk to this box. Now, what we're gathering right now is items for the late game. During the late game, there's a couple items we need, or else we'll never pass the end game hurdle. So this is very important. What we picked up was a black robe. And in order to beat this game, we need to be stylish and functional. While I'm in this room, we'll also pick up some insecticide, and we'll be good to go. We may need insecticide for later, so it's nice to have. And just so we can see the items once we head back, I need to pick up one more item in this foyer, and then we should be good. See, we have a robe, and we have insecticide. And we have to walk back down the stairs, and we're going to deal with a couple things right now. Since we're in this room, what we're going to do is, one, we need to get perfume so we can smell nice for the end game. And then we also need to pick up my favorite item of the game. And you might be familiar with this if you're just here for Little Nightmares, some ham. So the ham is actually going to be used to keep us alive. It's very important. And I'm going to do something fun right now. I'm also going to do H ending in addition to A ending. As I mentioned, there's 9 endings in the game, and I'll say what each of the endings are and what our intention is. Our primary intention for right now is A ending. However, on the side, we can also do H ending. And the reason for that being is we're going to use a lot of continues to get us through. In addition, I need to raid the perfume cabinet, so let's make sure we do that right now. You have to be very careful with your button presses. Everything in this room is designed to kill you. This bird, this mirror, really only the two. But it's still two things that can kill you that wouldn't normally be able to kill you. The mirror is actually one of my favorite ones in the game. Nobody expects it. It is early game. It's an early game trap, and it's pretty funny to watch. It's not the funniest stuff in the game, but I always like baiting Let's Players into grabbing that mirror. Since I do speedrun Clock Tower, a lot of what I do is I can't relive this game's magic again. Luckily for you guys, you'll be able to experience this all for the first time, for the first run. I'm going to be playing one of the best endings in the game. Well, second, I suppose. Right now, we got to make sure we grab our ham, and we also need to disinfect the meat locker. Now, what do I mean by that? We're going to use this disinfectant spray, insecticide, to remove all the bugs in the meat locker, because we do not want to touch these bugs. If you don't do this, you won't die, but Jennifer will be covered in bugs, and that's not a good thing. And for some reason, somebody stashed a key back here. It's standard, just point-and-click logic. So before we do the next thing, well, one, I need to grab the ham. So we need to go raid the fridge for food. If you guys ever watched the JonTron video, you'll know all about the ham, and I'll show off our nice ham here. See? We have ham in Japanese. Before we get to the rest of A ending, though, we're going to achieve the first ending. And the first ending is going to be H ending. I'm doing a slight route change because I mainly put a lot of work into all endings, meaning I realized that I can do this a while back. So what we're going to do is talk to this box and get a key. Now we can pull up our inventory, run back, and we're going to start the car. Now, with you guys, if you must be fans of horror if you're watching Clock Tower, or you just like Glitchless Marathons. Something I want to bring up, especially if you like horror movies in the slightest, why doesn't the protagonist just run away? Why doesn't she just leave the mansion with the killer boy with the giant pair of scissors? It really makes you think, but she doesn't want to do it. However, Clock Tower added a fun Easter egg. If you talk to this 3 times, you actually have one of the endings. So we just completed the first ending, which is the H ending. The entire goal of H ending, drive away, which we're doing right now. There we go. And that was the first ending of the game, H ending. By far the worst ending. And we don't need to watch the credits, we know we got it. H ending is got when you have one friend die and the other friend is still alive. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go back to continue. And this will bring us back right before we die to the car. I do want to let you know we die in H ending. Bobby is in the back of the car, Texas Chainsaw Massacre style. Sadly, it's too long to watch though, and we do have our ham. Before we do anything else, though, I want to see if we get the good luck. Good luck means I get poisoned from this. Let's see. We're going to talk to this twice. If I get healed, it's bad luck. If I don't get healed, it's good luck. We have to talk to it twice, though. Jennifer wants to sneak some brewskis with her friends, so we need to get turned. We need to party. Let's see if we're going to party. We didn't party. We got actual medicine. Medicine is not good. But we did, I guess, get healed. I want to explain right now while we're running to the next portion of this game. The little meter in the bottom left is actually a bit of a sanity meter. It doesn't really affect the game too much, but you'll know if you're able to do certain things better if you have that meter colored. Blue means you're full health. Yellow means panic events become a bit harder. And then red means you might actually die if you are stuck in that phase. We have to go upstairs at some point, so I might as well get to the rest of the end game for the A ending. And what we need to do is it's actually a giant fetch quest. First off, we need to see what we need. We need to have, one, either the key for the end game, and we also need to know the truth. There's a couple of things that this game requires to get good endings, and there are certain flags. So we're going to have to either find a library, or we're going to have to find the crow room, actually. So we do need this room. That's perfect. One thing I do want to point about this game is, for the most part, again, it was all that's going to be in Japanese, because Japanese is way faster. This is the only official NES or SNES release of this game. Anything else is fan carts. They're not actual. They're the equivalent of an emulator. Right now we're gonna free the crow. He's gonna be our friend, and we need him for one of the flags in A ending. A ending is the first one we want to do, just because it's the one that most can go wrong. So it's nice to get out of the way first. After this, we'll do one of the shorter endings, just to get that out of the way fast. So we freed the crow. We either need the library or the piano room, preferably the library, because then we'll know which key we have to play with. There's 2 keys you're allowed to play with, and we don't know which one it is yet. You never know. Now, on my stream all the time, I describe this game as you are playing with an 8-ball. And if you guys want to speedrun this game, I'll give you an example right now. Now, imagine you have an 8-ball. Now, the 8-ball usually says positive or negative things. So, in order to actually speedrun this properly, you need it to say something positive, or you have to guess positive or negative, 50% chance, a 1 in 5 chance, a 50% chance, and then a 1 in 4 chance. And the reason why I'm saying that is these rooms are right in this hallway or randomly generated. So the West Wing doors, all these doors I'm going to, all these rooms, they're not the same each time. RNG decides it very early on, and as I mentioned, there's about 64 different generations of the mansion. This will be the piano room. Call it. And now we're going to grab the staff. I'm able to predict it because it's a 1 in 5 chance for the rooms to show up. So the piano room had a 1 in 5 chance of spawning here. Every room had a 1 in 5 chance. There's 5 different rooms that these rooms cycle through. It is the bathroom that we saw, the crow room, the library, the piano room, and a blank room. And usually you can tell what kind of luck we got. I got a kind of unfortunate one, but it's not the end of the world. What we need to do now, since we need to make our way back upstairs, we need to actually have a little bit of a mini boss fight, I suppose. It's more of a panic event than anything. But it is something we can do. And again, we get to watch Jennifer stroll up these stairs. And normally in the game, as I mentioned earlier, there are certain flags we must achieve. And these flags are going to be, you need to find the truth about Bobby, and you need to find the truth about Mary. If you find both of those out, you're allowed to progress to the late game and get certain endings. All of the endings are actually decided in about one area of the game. The major thing, though, is if you don't have certain things achieved, you're not going to be able to get certain endings. And this will help us out with a little fun skip that's using in-game mechanics. So it is pretty... We do get a skip in this game, believe it or not, because it's perfectly intended. The devs intended you to do this, mainly because they didn't want you to feel locked into one ending. Right. Anyway, we're going to fight a French stall right now, and this is a real banger, guys. This is my jam. A real jam. Anytime I'm driving to work, I pump this in my car. I'm going to do a little bit of AI manipulation. We're going to run slightly past it, and then run back. I got it first try, and this is actually the perfect cycle, because then she hits the wall, and we're allowed to immediately exit. If she faces us, we have to actually take the hit. And the best way of playing this game, and why it works in this way, is because the difference between SNES Clock Tower and the English port called The First Sphere that came out later, which was released for Windows 95 and PS1, this game allows us to use the SNES controller, which means I can move. I don't have to move with the clicker. I can move with the left mouse button. I can activate the inventory with a button. I'm not doing too much in regards to that. And because of that, I'm able to have better movement in general. Anyway, this path works out well because the key that I got earlier is used right here. This room and the one beneath it always randomly spawn. They're never consistent, and this would be a great cycle if it wasn't A ending. But because it's A ending, I actually need to re-enter the room. We want Mary to spawn in this room. If we don't get Mary, we're not going to be able to progress to the game. But we did get the key we need, which means it'll be nice for later. But for right now, we need to keep entering the room. Each time you enter a room, such as this one, there's a certain chance certain things can happen. Wow, 2 in a row, that's kind of unlucky. Maybe third time's the charm? Third time is not the charm. It's not letting me, Let me try refreshing that. Usually she spawns at some point. I kind of wish I had this luck in other runs, not this one, but she doesn't want to spawn for some reason. And the unfortunate part is I need to get thrown into the shed, so come on, Mary, throw me into the shed. I'll try it one more time. Alright, it doesn't look like she's spawning here. Usually she'll spawn, which is a bit unfortunate. We'll just find out the secret of the staff right now. A fun part about marathons is we get the ability to improvise. So what I'm going to actually do is I'm going to do a skip pretty quickly so I don't have to worry about it later. Usually we have to worry a bit about the skip, but since I already have the methods of doing all this, we can actually progress on one of my favorite skips in this game. It's a bit weird that she wasn't spawning there, but we don't have time to mess around with that. This is a speedrun, in fact. So we're going to go into this room down here. And this room we need to go to because you need to learn how to use the staff. I'll be able to kind of rant a bit more in general about the game once I get through the first run. It's just to mainly give you guys a treat of the game. Sadly, if you have the staff route, you have to learn how to use the staff. Meaning you have to talk to a wall. In order to use the staff, you have to learn it, sadly, and I always need to talk to the wall twice. It's quite unfortunate, but we have to deal with it anyway. I'm going to go upstairs first, just to make sure Mary can spawn back, because we do need to get thrown into the shed. If we don't get thrown in the shed, that may pose a problem. I'll try it one more time. If it doesn't happen, I'll go for the FED skip sooner than I thought. Anyway, kind of going a bit more into the story. As we go through the mansion, normally you're supposed to learn more about the game. You're supposed to learn the truth, which we still technically can learn the truth. But in order to get A ending, we have to learn it in a certain fashion. Meaning we need to encounter Mary. If we don't encounter Mary, we're never going to learn the truth the proper way. So let's give it one more shot here. There we go. And one thing I do want to mention before we go much more into the glitchless side of things, for a point-and-click game, this game has a lot of glitches. Most of it has to do with using items in this game, because items are a lot more powerful than you would expect. Alright, so Mary's still not showing up. I'm assuming she will never show up. So what we're going to do is go back down these stairs. I know how much you guys love these stairs. And we're going to activate something I call FED. There you go. And while these stairs may be slow, the rest of this one won't, because instead of just doing the A ending, we're going to do 3 endings in a row. Now, I'm wondering how we're going to do that. It's a pretty fun trick we get to do. As I mentioned earlier, the game wants us to succeed, so it gives you a continue button. And that continue button will launch you from the most optimal point that you had, as long as you didn't hit certain checkpoints. So since we have the key to the room that we need the key for, we're going to be able to get to the little finale area where the rest of the game happens. Just doing a quick item check, we got the robe, we got the perfume, we got the staff, we got everything we need. And we're going to meet one of my best friends in this entire game in a quick moment. One thing I do want to mention is we normally have a huge skip coming up that does become a run killer, but instead you guys will get to see what we had all that early game work for. And you'll get to see how much I love using the staff in games. Normally in a speedrun, you never want to get the staff. This is a good sign, meaning we got the answer here, meaning we can use our staff. And now there's going to be a nice hole opening up at the bottom here, right down here. There we go. And this game actually does have a lot of influence, believe it or not. A little bit of the history of this game I'll talk about in a bit, but for right now, we're actually going to see the end game, which I want you guys to pay close attention to. There's a few things to take note of. One, we have more Jennifer climbing aspects, ladders, stairs. She'll take forever. We're about to meet my best friend, the dog. And there he is, the dog. So the dog will bark at us, and the reason why we grab the robe and perfume is we actually need to, 1, change into that, and 2, spray on the perfume. And now we can actually walk through. There we go. And now we will be locked out of the other side of the game. Now, I know what you're thinking. A dog can't possibly be that loud. What we're going to do right now is walk over here, and what happens in this game is they talk a lot about something in particular. They talk about something called the cradle under the stars. It's hyped up to be this big thing, and we're not sure what it is yet. As we go through this game, I'm going to give you guys a lot of details of the story so you too can fully understand what happened during the Clock Tower Massacre. As you know right now, one of our friends has died, and we don't know where the other ones are. Maybe one of them is behind this curtain. Or maybe it's the cradle under the star. Dan the man. The cradle under the star is indeed a cradle for a big baby. And this part is a glorified auto-scroller. You have to push the panic button 80 times. Any less and you will die. So you better be good at just pushing B. You don't have to mash it, just literally push it until the end and you usually have it. I think most people are able to push the button 80 times. It's not overtly hard. But there always is a bit of risk here. The panic event ends once the screen stops flashing. As I mentioned earlier, whenever the screen's flashing, you have to mash down the panic button, which is B on the SNES controller. Let's see if we succeeded. And this is how you take out a giant baby if you encounter one. I don't know how frequently that might happen. Just hope you have kerosene on hand. Because then he turns into a giant, ice flammable object. Most of the text is just Jennifer claiming that she's not dead, which I think is a good thing. Anyway, I think it's about time to get to the end game. I think it's we're gonna encounter the final boss, as much as a point and click can have. There's not really too many in the name of boss fights for this game, since it is a point and click. So most of what's gonna happen is just moving to the end. And most of what the end game is going to be a panic event. Let's see. We're going to make it up the elevator right now, guys. I believe we're going to make it to the top. We're going to shoot for the top. Watch this. Shooting for the top here. Oh, no. Guys, I don't think we shot for the top. I don't think... We clearly did something wrong here, guys. You know what? We'll try it again. Watch. We'll give this another shot. I think we can do it this time. Now, there's a reason why we weren't allowed in that elevator. So that elevator was actually one of the endings in the game. That's called F ending. And F ending has you having no knowledge. Now, as we know, knowledge is power. So we're going to talk to our dying friend Lotte. Sadly, during glitch speedrun, we can just talk to our friend for a moment, but now we have to be a caring human being and listen to her, which is quite sad, but we'll deal with it. This is Lotte. Lotte has... A lot of people think Lotte's a little boy, but Lotte is a girl. Lotte somehow discovered the truth and the weakness to Scissorman. I'm not sure how she did it, but she is helpful enough for both us and the speedrun to give us these tips on how to beat the Scissorman. So we're going to do that right now. We're just going to leave Lotte. She gave us her dying wish to stop the Scissorman, and I think we know how to do it this time. So if I did everything right, we'll be allowed inside of the elevator this time. We're good people. We're allowed to ride the elevator. We paid our money. We paid our ticket. We're allowed inside. Bobby's not going to stop us this time. Also, I want to note, Bobby the Scissorman looks a lot like Angus Young from AC/DC with his little short shorts. Anyway, this time we're actually going to have the ability to make it into the elevator. Truly a tough decision here to make. Into the elevator. Now, do I want to push floor 3 or 2? My hand slipped. I pushed 3. Don't worry. We're going to go straight to the top, I believe. Straight to the top. No whammy, no whammy. Straight to the top. We got this. See? We're straight shooters, guys. Oh, no. Guys, what happened? What happened? Bobby cut us off in the elevator. I'm not sure what happened, guys. He caught us on a dead end. So that was E ending. E ending does not allow you to make it to the 3rd floor. But wait a minute. I have another shot here, guys. Let's continue. I think we have one more chance here. Now, I pushed 3 last time, and 1 is clearly broken and won't work. Let's push 2. I think 2 is going to work this time. Watch. We're going to get out of the elevator, and 2 will be perfectly safe. I have no doubt in my mind. Not a doubt in my mind 2 is going to work. See? We're already out of the elevator, guys. And I forgot to turn off my follow alerts. Guys, we got Mary. Look, it's Mary. She's going to give us a big hug. And we're going to give her a big hug because she is our parent. She adopted us. She saved us from the orphanage. So, let's go give her that hug. See, this is the ending we deserve. But then she pulls out the knife. And this is D ending. So, if you guys are wondering, what just happened? Why did I do this? Why did I just have Jennifer die 3 times in a row? Now, Jennifer died 3 times in a row because in the span of about 25 minutes or so, we have just accomplished 4 of the 9 endings. We have just accomplished half of the game's endings, and we're about to do the other shortest ones. Actually, we'll save G for later. We're going to do A again. We're going to hope for A. We'll do either A or S. A or B. If we get the Demon Idol, we'll do a shorter ending. If we do not, we'll do a longer ending. A lot of this routing is going to be on the fly, just because most of the endings have similar requirements. And now, talking about what I just did there, as I mentioned, the game doesn't want you to fail. It will give you more chances as you continue. So it has certain continued checkpoints that are going to be good to have. I didn't get the key, which is actually a bit ideal. I just have to check it to make sure it's not down here, because it will be a bit unfortunate if it wasn't down here, sadly. Normally, you want it to be down here for a normal run, but in this case, you gotta make sure you know where the key is. And this time, we're not gonna forget our nice perfume, and we're gonna do a nice little thing here. Also, I can show you guys a little fun thing later. I'll do it during G ending. I'll show you this mirror, just because how fun it is. That'll be the next ending. Anyway, now that we got the perfume, as you can see, we're gonna deal with our friend Anne again. Now, my bet is I'm not sure if Anne is gonna make it this time. You know, Anne's normally a pretty good girl, but let's see if she makes it. I have a good feeling this time. I have a good feeling Anne will make it. I think she'll be fine, guys. She is not. So the reason why Anne always dies is because this is the fastest way to get through to start Bobby. There's 2 ways of starting, well, 3 ways of starting the Bobby event, and this is by far the fastest because it also puts us in the room we need to be. Again, the strategy is you want to exit the room and then re-enter the room, because then we're able just to run to the stairs. Funny enough, you can actually do a glitch to where you can just run straight towards the stairs. This game forgot to program in the animation to where Jennifer will just die by Bobby if you select stairs. It prioritizes actions over Bobby. But that is a glitch because normally you're supposed to die, so we can't do that. Which is why I had to exit the room and then re-enter it. It's not too much slower than the ideal strat, and it's kind of funny because Bobby just gets absolutely juked. Anyway, we're going to make our way back to that one room, and that's the ideal room to make it in. Every run we do that will have a Bobby chase will put us in that room, barring one of the runs, which is G. G is the only ending that won't put us into this room that we're going to right now. And as I mentioned, we want to get to this box each time. And Jennifer is going to do a nice pull-up. There we go. And Jennifer is used to running a lot through. Fun fact, while we're waiting here, Jennifer and this entire game is actually inspired off of the movie Phenomena. Jennifer Simpson is actually inspired by Jennifer Corvino, also known as Jennifer Connelly. So if you want to see real-life Jennifer, like a human being, look up Jennifer Connelly. She, like, point blank, inspired the creators of Clock Tower to make this character Jennifer Simpson. It's pretty much you're playing as Jennifer Connelly, you're being chased by a boy with a giant pair of scissors, which, when I heard of this game originally and that concept, I was like, dude, I have to play this. I love both of those things, and I'm a huge horror nut, so it just all worked out. And a little bit about the history of the game as well. Originally, you didn't have too many horror games in the old days. Now, I'll give you a taste of what you had for horror games. You had stuff, I mean, Alone in the Dark and I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream are pretty good. Even Sweet Home was good, but a lot of the games you had as horror were like Friday the 13th and like Nightmare on Elm Street. I've played Nightmare on Elm Street. It's not good. It's not very good. I'm not like dogging the game. I've physically played it. It's just not an amazing game. And again, we want Jennifer to notice the eggs before we actually push the box. Because Jennifer is knowledgeable. She wants to learn. Jennifer went to school for this. She's a student. And anyway, back to that. Clock Tower came out around 1995. And Clock Tower was the original survival horror. A lot of people will say Resident Evil was, which they coined the term, but for the actual genre defining, Clock Tower did it years before either Resident Evil or Silent Hill. So it's kind of crazy. Now, if you're wondering what inspired Resident Evil, it was Sweet Home. I'm a big horror nerd, so this is right up my alley. Anyway, before we have to do this part again, let's go find out if we have a book game or a staff game. Here we go. And we have a nice running through the halls. And as I mentioned earlier, the sanity meter is here. And realistically, for a speedrun, it's not going to apply to us. It only applies to panic events, which usually involve something trying to kill us. Most notably, Bobby. Because as you're exploring the mansion, there's plenty of ways to summon Bobby. And we don't want to do any of those because we'd have to find another escape route from Bobby. Alright, so let's hope this room is the library. That'd be perfect RNG. Let's just hope it's not the piano. That's the only goal. Hey, a library. This is actually perfect. This would be a world record attempt if I didn't get technical books. But now we can do ending a game, which is going to be quite nice. And it pretty much is. Clock Tower was the original survival horror. And a lot of people don't realize that. Mainly because the game is localized entirely within Japan. I think if the game had better release, it would have done a lot better. But it's known as a cult classic among a lot of people. And there's still plenty of people finding out about this game till today. And again, I am not kidding. Jennifer Simpson is literally Jennifer Connelly. It's quite literally they made an SNES version of her. Let's go back to the AI manipulation. And we got it. 2 for 2. And that's actually perfect each time I'm doing it. The reason why I'm stopping is during that fight, that door is actually locked, so you can't escape. It doesn't unlock until you leave, until that doll dies. So we got to make sure we actually deal with the rest of that. And since we know this is a staff game, it's a good time to do A ending. Since we have to do the staff, we might as well do A. And the reason being, A ending is the only one that has us go on the longest path in the game. A ending is a very long path that we normally don't want to do, but for the category itself, we end up having to go into the rooms anyway to find out how to use the staff, so it works out that way to encounter Mary. Which, now we're going to actually start finding out the truth about this game. I haven't mentioned much about it yet, but we'll see about it, and that was actually very good luck. But we still need to find the crow room. Occasionally, random scares can happen throughout the game as well, depending on the room you're in. For example, this is hopefully the last time we're going to see this room. This record player could be playing. Bobby can start showing up. He can start staring at us. He can watch us. And yes, alone, the original, way before Clock Tower, Alone in the Dark. There's the record player. We've had games like that, which did do a good job, but Clock Tower is really the first of its kind. Alone in the Dark and I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream were before Clock Tower, but Clock Tower was the first to really have something chasing you and you be totally helpless. Hey, we got perfect room, actually. Alright, so now we don't have to explore any more rooms. We got all the rooms we wanted. Because we need to free our friend, the Crow. Brandon Lee, the Crow. Funny enough, after the events of the Clock Tower murders, Jennifer actually becomes a vegetarian because all the animals she saw dying. Which, I mean, it makes sense, especially given the context of the game that I'm going to tell you guys later. This game gets pretty fun. The story of this doesn't really get a lot of feedback, I'd say. Most people only play it for one ending and then they're done with it. They don't do all of the game's endings. But the game has a lot of detail that people tend to forget about. And there's also detail from the sequels as well that you learn about. Anyway, we have to make our way all the way back to that main foyer, so it's going to be running left for a while. Here we go. Running left. There's actually a fun glitch you could do, but again, glitchless, so we're not going to do it. And it's called input buffering. The game doesn't know how to handle the item menu being opened again and again and again, so it would actually put Jennifer off the screen. But again, since this is glitchless, we're not going to do it. I might show it later, like maybe after, but right now we're not going to do it. Right now we're going to accomplish a ending, which will require us to run all the way back. A lot of running left. Normally, Bobby won't spawn in the halls unless you are literally just idling for long periods of time. Bobby is set to spawn in certain locations of the game, and he's a bit crafty to deal with. You normally can't hide in the exact same spots every time, because he will remember where you go. For example, in the bookcase room, if we get there later, there's a way to take him out, but you can only do it once. So, let's go get that ham and the key again, and we can see if we get knocked out the good old-fashioned way. There's 2 ways of getting sent to the garage. Let's hope we can score some brewskis this time, instead of nice herbal teas. Alright, first things first, let's go do the insecticide, because the key is the most important part here. What we obtain is something called the gold and silver keys, and this is the silver key. The gold key is what we got underneath the wine glass the first time we went in there, and we don't want, we need that key for later, but we don't want it immediately. Let's go get the ham next. And the ham is actually very necessary for only this ending. A lot of people end up thinking you need the ham for the dog, because it would make sense to give the ham to a dog, but we're going to give the ham to something that's hungry like a dog. Alright, now let's go score some brewskis and hope she didn't leave herbal tea out. You have to check it twice so Jennifer can examine it and then decide, you know what? That's alcohol, or that's poison, or that's tea. We'll see. We did it. Perfect. We got it. So this time, Jennifer actually drank the alcohol, the mysterious liquids on the shelf, and Jennifer's going to pass out. Now, we're going to wake up in this cage. And we're in jail with this homeless man, and this homeless man actually has the deepest lore. But, unfortunately, it's all in Japanese, so I'll be a nice little interpreter here. First off, in order to talk to the man, you have to give him ham. If you don't give him ham, things don't go well for you. Let's just say, if you're here for Little Nightmares, it's reverse Little Nightmares. Well, we are the gnome in Little Nightmares if we don't give him the ham. Anyway, what they're talking about right now is, I mentioned the Cradle of the Stars during the last run, Cradle Under the Stars, but he's telling us about the Cradle Under the Stars right now, and by getting thrown in the shed, we're able to learn the truth about Mary, which is the primary thing we want to do. If you don't know the truth about Mary, you can't progress through the game because you won't trust her. Anyway, we gotta wait in jail for a friend to break us out. But we have a good old friend coming in. I hope you guys missed her. It's Lotte. And now, nothing bad ever happens to Lotte. Don't worry, she'll make it. Lotte's clearly breaking us out of jail, and that's the only thing that will ever happen. Lotte's a survivor, and we're going to get the truth from her later because she's a good person. Funny enough, there's actually an alternative way to get out of jail, but you need a key. But why would you ever want a key when Lotte can just let you out of jail? Anyway, Lotte, lead us to freedom. Oh, that didn't look very free to me. So we're going to grab this plank of wood. There's 2 options here. Hide or fight. Fighting is the best option because if you hide, it's actually an immediate game over. One of the first times I've ever played this casually, I tried hiding, and it didn't end well for me. I ended up dying, actually. She'll actually shoot her shotgun into this box because it's the only place Jennifer could reasonably go. There's a fun little glitch we can do here, but sadly we don't get to see it. I like pointing out the glitches we can't do, mainly because a lot of the glitches are pure laziness. The glitch is you just run over the box. That's all the glitch does. You just run past the box. So we had to take a couple seconds to move it out of the way, but I call that speed tech. Anyway, let's hope we got a good bottom floor here. Because we have to find either the gold or silver room. Jennifer, why? Run back into that room. There we go. Jennifer, there you go. This is not going to be the room, watch. Calling it now. Called it. It's usually the exact opposite room that I want. I need to go to both of the rooms eventually, but it takes time for you to be able to get to each one. You're not going to be able to just go immediately to the room with the room with the demon idol, or the staff key, the staff knowledge. You're going to have to actually get the key there, and you have to be a bit careful in one of these rooms. One of the things a lot of casual players will tend to do is they'll always try to find out what is that ringing phone doing. The ringing phone, it's just a dead line. I mean, if you guys really want me to, I could check it, but it's just a waste of time. All it says is, "Oh no, the phones are dead," and then you have the question, "Who was phone?" Most of the time, in terms of movement, you want to stop Jennifer as close as you can in front of the doors. So we're gonna pick up the key again, and now we can go downstairs. Also, there's a special surprise in this suit of armor. Whenever you guys play the game casually, make sure you check the suit of armor. Trust me, you'll find everything you've ever desired in that suit of armor. Probably not, but it's funny that way. There's something special in this suit of armor. If we get another staff ending, I'll show you guys what's in that suit of armor. A nice little treat for all of you, and we'll figure out more. Because the staff ending, it's just better to find out the Mary truth. There's two ways of finding out the truth about Mary. One of them is bonking Mary in the back of the head with a wooden plank, which Mary kind of has a lot of endurance for, I guess, being able to take a wooden plank to the back of the head. And the other is in another room. And I'll save that twist for later, because we eventually need to go there. I mean, the twist isn't going to mean much, because we do the room pretty quickly. But it's still something nice to know. And I'll be able to talk about the history of that room once we get to it. Here we go. Anyway, now we can do this. We have to talk to this thing again. And now we have to tear down the bookcase. Jennifer hates bookcases, and you'll learn this quick. I'm going to talk to this. Again, we need the staff truth. 2 staff games in a row is, I guess, not the end of the world because I messed up FED. I didn't totally mess it up. It's weird. A lot of this game was improvising, and we need to talk to 3 things. Since Lotte already died, we can't find out the truth from her. But the game has multiple options for you being able to advance. So in this case, by reading books like a nerd, we're able to learn the truth about Bobby. So now we need everything we know. And just in case, I always read these books too, just because since we're going to read books, you might as well commit to all of them. There we go. And also, the game you have to make sure you absolutely read those books. If you kind of read those books and they don't actually count, you have to run all the way back here, which I really would not rather do. I think it would take a substantial amount of time if I had to run all the way back, to be quite honest. Anyway, we are nearing the end game. I do want to make that note. And this time, all we have left are good endings. Well, kind of good endings. We have done H ending, F ending, E ending, and D ending. That is 4 of them. As I mentioned, there are 9 endings. So there are 5 more. We're almost done with one of them, and we'll do the fast one next. Mainly because I believe in equality in the characters. We saw Anne die a lot. I promise you, the next run, Anne's not going to die from that glass ceiling once again. We're not going to kill Anne from the glass ceiling. I think Anne deserves to live. She has the rights to life, guys. Although if you do like watching Clock Tower speedruns, a lot of people like watching Anne dying. It happens way too often. A little bit of context about the history of this game. In the old days, it was more like how I'm playing it now. The old days, this game was entirely glitched. Oh, wait. I pushed the wrong item. There we go. That was I was blind for a moment, but that's okay. For a second, I thought the tray opened up at the bottom, but that's all right. There we go. Now we've kicked out the flowers and put in our golden staff, and it's time for my good buddy, the dog, once again. But anyway, going to a brief history about this game, glitchless actually was the original category for this entire game. Most of the runners who played it, and actually a prominent one that a lot of you guys who may be horror speedrun fans, Bakba Soup, he actually ran this game all endings. He did exactly what I'm doing now, all endings glitchless. He ran it as a glitchless category. Mainly because the skips were a bit odd, and originally the record for this was about, I want to say 18 minutes glitchless for the primary ending, which is S. It's been brought down a lot since then. There we go. And now we can pass the dog. Sadly, we've already given our ham to an old man, but the dog likes eating perfume even more. You guys are wondering? Lotte's not going to be here this time, so we can just immediately start the endgame event. And I'll talk a bit more about it. So, that boy we saw here is Dan. Now, Dan and Bobby are actually brothers. Believe it or not, they're brothers. Twins, in fact. You know the little scissor man and this big blob of a man, or this big blob of a child? And that's, they're twins. It's quite funny if you ask me. So let's go do this right now. We're going to summon Bobby again, the cradle under the stars. This time we know a bit more. The man in the prison was Mr. Barros, and Mr. Barros was thrown into jail. Lord knows how he survived, but he managed to do it. And again, this is more or less a giant auto-scroller. I'm literally pushing one button right now. Funny enough, you could actually mess this up. If you mess this up, I mean, you could continue, but it's kind of just a little bit humiliating in all facets of the game. By this point in the game, you shouldn't be dying here. They made it a bit different in the PC version of it, mainly because they changed the way a lot of the panic events would work. There are substantial differences in between them, which is why we don't use PC for this. The only advantage PC has is load times are slightly faster. Outside of that, everything is worse on PC, mainly because you only use a mouse. Point-and-click games are kind of weird if you only have to use a mouse. When you're able to use a controller in a point-and-click game, it makes it somehow better. And that's just because you have more diversity on your actions. A good example is, I run a lot of horror games in general. So along with Clock Tower being a point-and-click, I have also ran Franbo, which, if you guys have ever played it, it's another horror aesthetic point-and-click. The only issue with that, though, is it's pure mouse. So there's nothing else you can do. It's all mouse actions. Anyway, if we did everything right, we shouldn't die in these stairs. If I die in these stairs, then I messed up at some point in my life. It can happen, but it doesn't happen too frequently. And we're going to make it up, 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 up. There we go. And we're just going straight to the third floor. Most of the endings are going to have you go to the third floor. You'll only go to the second floor twice in any marathon. If you're doing all endings, it's only twice. And since we're taking the time for this is going to be your first time actually seeing a good ending of this game. And this ending is canon, so I hope you enjoy it. And I'll tell you a bit about the canon in a bit. I'm going to shut my trap just for a second. I'll be quiet. I'm going to let you guys enjoy the ending and the big chase right now. Let's see if she makes it. Gotta make it to the clock tower. I don't know if it'll work, guys. So this is more or less a pure auto-scroller. We have to make sure we got the proper ending, though, so we have to let it play out. And Bobby is being defeated. Now, the reason why Bobby is being defeated is there's the idea that time will cause adherence. That's what we read from the book, and that's what Lotte told us. She actually didn't tell us, oh, Bobby's defeated by turning on the clock tower. All they told us was, clock tower, time will cause adherence. And you have to wonder what that means. Anyway, if we got the right ending, we'll see our friend Laura right now. There we go. We're on the good pace for the ending, and I'll let it play out. Hey, look, it's Mary. It's a big family reunion, guys. Up, and then she throws her down with Bobby. And we do know it's the ending, but I'm gonna let you guys know how it ends, and hopefully we made the right decisions. If we didn't make the right decisions, this will go very bad. Remember, karma always pays off, though. We did good deeds, and we'll survive. This is all an auto-scroll from here on out, so I don't have to actually do anything. We're just watching. And the crows have come to save us, and we will reset right when she falls. The endings are really only fun if you get to watch Mary die, to be quite honest. Mary killed us earlier. It's her turn now. Also, I'm feeling one more good ending, and then we'll do a bad ending. So that was a ending. Now, every ending in the game is going to route a bit differently. And I did mention, if we do get another staff game, I'll show you guys a fun Easter egg. Because now we have B, C, G, and S left. I'm going to be ending on S. And S is my favorite ending of the game and always the best to end it on. Sadly, it's not canon. The canon endings are A, B, and C. I mentioned earlier I'll talk a bit about what's canon, what's not canon. The main thing is, canon is the idea that Jennifer is the only person to survive the Clock Tower Massacre. Clock Tower 2 was a thing. The naming conventions got really weird for this series. Clock Tower, this is the original Clock Tower. Then you have Clock Tower 2, and then Clock Tower Ghost Head. And then also, I said I would show you the mirror, so I'll do that right now. Just a little fun thing. If you talk to the mirror, it'll try to kill you. And then you have to mash the button. We lived. So, little fun Easter egg. Not so much an Easter egg, but a little fun thing. Funny enough, you can keep talking in that mirror too. Watch, I'll do it again, and it'll try to kill us. Actually, I'm not going to do it again. I'm not stupid. But I thought I'd show you guys the mirror. It's a little fun way to die, especially for a lot of times. You got to make sure you mash that button quick. Now, that mirror in particular kills more people than I've ever seen in this game because it's right at the start of the game. Right when you begin this game, you have 3 rooms right here in this hallway. So you got to make sure that, you check everything. You got to make sure you grab everything. If you don't grab everything, it's not going to work. And look, Anne's dying again. Also, this is truly one of the most iconic deaths in any series. It's not the most iconic scene in this game, but it is very iconic in terms of a series thing. It actually takes, as I mentioned earlier, inspiration from Phenomena. It takes inspiration from that. And they have a very similar death of one of the characters in that movie. I'm not going to say which one, but the whole idea of the skylight kill is really creative, and it's actually one of my favorites in the game. Which one of the upsides, we get to watch it every time. I should do that. I muted my desktop audio. I keep forgetting to do that. Here we go. And you guys, we get to go to my favorite room, and Jennifer gets to do a sweet pull-up. Now, Jennifer can currently do more pull-ups than I can, although she's hopped up on adrenaline. You have Jennifer exceeding my expectations, and then you have Jennifer meeting my expectations. So here's, you're about to see me, if I guess I was on, being chased by a giant scissor man. And then you'll see me IRL, I suppose. So this is not me right here. This is not me. I can hang there pretty well. I can almost do a pull-up. I'm more of a dips kind of guy. But Bobby will try this every time. There is one ending in the game we're not going to escape this route. And for you guys, I'm going to do a bit of a treat. I'll set up the risky route, but I'm also going to try the fast route. Alright. Let's do this. And you guys know how this room goes. That's me doing a pull-up, by the way. Roughly about that. So let's go get a robe for the umpteenth time. We're going to be doing either B or C ending this time. It really doesn't matter which one. I think it's a matter of preference. I'll do B, because B is a pretty fun one to watch. It's going to be the exact same as A, except we don't save the crow. So each of the endings has, as I mentioned, certain flags that you must achieve. Most of the time I won't care unless you hit specific endings. A ending was the only option, is you had to beat the game, but you also had to free the crow. So if you beat the game in the standard route, you would have it. Which is what we did. We beat the game, standard route, we found out the truth, we had the crow. S ending is similar, but you have to find out the truth in the other way. Hopefully we'll get that. We actually haven't had a demon idol run once this time. We're going to have at least one of them, which I think will be pretty nice. We're We bring all the way back, and we're going to have that sweet, sweet doll fight. We all know how tough of a fight that is. One of the major downsides of the speedrun, sadly, is you never see a lot of the additional rooms in this game. There's a lot of additional rooms, additional scares, some really cool stuff to happen in this game, because they expect you to search the entire mansion. And it really is pretty well done. A lot of the rooms are static, so they'll always remain the same. This is not one of those rooms. But at the same time, as I mentioned, there's also the RNG rooms. As you guys saw, I've been going to the same room every time, this one, and we have the doll sequence. This doll fight always happens in this room. It will never not happen in this room. A lot of the rooms in this game are static, but for some reason they wanted to make some of them different. The main reason is because they wanted you to have a different experience every time you played the game. Now, if every room was the exact same, it wouldn't be a very fun speedrun. Oh, you run to this room, you go to this area, and then you're done. What Clock Tower does is it requires you to have quick thinking. Glitchless as a category, the main tactics used are, 1, AI manipulation. This is the first time we didn't get the doll, by the way, meaning we have to actually fight it properly. We're gonna wait. You have to make sure you find the proper spot for it. If you're unlucky, it can take up to 30 seconds. There we go. And we just get taken down in the fight. We still kill it, but this is why we like the doll facing the other way, because then it just bonks its head on the wall. But as I mentioned, even in a glitchless run, this game does have some technique you have to use. AI manipulation being one of them. If you don't know where to go, it's not going to work. For example, every time I've been escaping Bobby, I exit the room and then immediately re-enter. If you don't know that, you'll try escaping in a different way. So you have to know where to go, first off. Second off, also, I'm going to do this just in case, so I don't have to do it later. All right, let me talk to the hole. As I mentioned, Jennifer has to learn. If Jennifer doesn't learn, it's not going to work. This is more of a precaution thing. Given my luck, it's very likely I'll get the book, because I'd have to make you walk back up the stairs. And I'd rather have this laid down now than waste the time later. Funny enough, Jennifer could actually run over that hole because 14-year-old girls have the ability to float. You only have it if you're a 14-year-old girl. If you're 15, you lose that ability. If you're 13, you're about to get it. If you're a dude, you're not going to have the ability. But if you're a 14-year-old girl, you have it. Go for it. Alright, we got the library. Let's see if we get the demon idol. Alright, so we got technical books, so that didn't even matter. Hey, at least you guys get to see that fun Easter egg I talked about. So, we're going to check out that knight in shining armor this time. And it will be our knight in shining armor who saves us. Maybe. We'll see. Hopefully it's not the crow. Hey, alright, we got the room. And a lot of the time you want to make sure you run to the exact spot. If you don't run to the exact spot, it's not going to work for you. Mainly because Jennifer, if you command her normally, will walk at the pace of somebody who's not in danger. She'll walk like this. Like this is a forced walk sequence. And for example, watch, I'll select the record player. She's going to walk like that. We don't want her to do that. This is also one of the minor scares I talked about. I'm happy we got it. It's actually a pretty cool one where Bobby will peek his head out. He'll never actually get you. It's just supposed to be spooky. Jump scares are more likely to happen if you have a lower sanity. So if we're pure blue sanity, we wouldn't have that. But since we had a red sanity meter, Bobby's going to try scaring us. He'll try psyching us out. Anyway, time for the long walk back, which is why I took a lot of safety precautions. As you remember, I did grab the insecticide. That being said, we'll also need our favorite, the ham. In theory, we don't need the ham, but it's faster to get the ham anyway. There's another route of doing this, but since we don't need to go to the room, it's going to take the same amount of time. And the other route, in a normal speedrun, it could be faster, but for this category, it's going to be negligible difference. And the upside to the merrier route, that we're going to find out right now for the truth, is we'll be right where we need to be to use our staff as we saw. So, back to my favorite garage. And we'll see if we find out the truth again from the liquor cabinet. I'm kind of hoping we don't, but I'll check it anyway. Just because it is faster. For the sake of time, I'll check it out. But it'll be pretty fun if I don't get it. But I'm not going to gimp a run just because I think it would be cooler to do another strat. So, let's just play this normally right now. And we're doing good on time as well. Anyway, a little bit about the history of Clock Tower as a series. I did mention a bit earlier that the numbering got kind of weird. So North America, you have Clock Tower, the First Sphere, Clock Tower 2, the Struggle Within, and then Clock Tower 3. In Japan, it's Clock Tower 2, Clock Tower Ghost Head, Clock Tower 3, but there's a few other games that people don't add that they really should. So Haunting Ground is within the Clock Tower series. If anyone tells you it's not, it is. Night Cry is the spiritual successor to the game, and most recently, it's been getting a lot of traction as well, so I'm going to hype up their community. The remothered speedrunning and remothered in general is the newest rendition of Clock Tower. So if you want a modern-day Clock Tower, remothered is the game you could be looking for, and we did get the stamina buff, so we're back to blue stamina. I'll make our little picture nice and pretty at the bottom left. But now we get to do the fun way. And this is the way I wanted to talk about, mainly because I get to throw a little bit of dialogue into this. So, come on, give me the silver room. Hey, we got the silver room for once. That was good. Alright, we didn't get Mary, but that's okay. But you guys want to check out what's in the Knight in Shining Armor here? You guys want to check this out? We're going to check it out right now. Check this out. We'll see the Knight in Shining Armor. Let's check out my hero. Guys, it's my hero. It's my Knight in Shining Armor. He's there for me, guys. He's gonna save me from the Scissor Man. Oh no, it's Laura. We killed her. Oh no, guys. We killed Laura. No. Laura, how can you be in that Knight in Shining Armor? Anyway, that's actually the Laura scare. So, in every scenario, there's ways of killing your friends. So we just killed Laura. We don't need her for any of the endings we're going to do. We're either doing B or C. I'm thinking B because it's going to be more fun. And C is more epic. I want to save it for after the next one. There we go. And now we also have a Mary scene, and the gist of this part is Mary thinks that Jennifer is a nerd since we have to read all those books. So what she's going to do is, in order to party with her friends, I mean, I guess not Laura or Anne because, you know, they've been incapacitated. With Lotte, she's going to give us some alcohol from the liquor cabinet, and she's going to tell Jennifer to start partying. She's going to tell her to take a drink. She's going to get her a glass of wine so she can get wine drunk with her friends. But this glass of wine, as we know, not to trust Mary. You got to be a bit careful. We pass out. We're just like Laura. Look, exactly. We're twins. Except she's a Knight in Shining Armor. She's a Knight in Shining Armor, and this is me on a normal Saturday night. Practically the same, guys. Like, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I'm a dude, but Jennifer is my spirit animal. I'm pretty sure if I was a chick, I'd be Jennifer. I'm finding ham in refrigerators. I'm talking to homeless dudes. I pass out drunk in my adopted mom's room. I'm all these things I like to believe. You know, I just chill. I just carry meat on me at all times. But that's actually something you don't see very often. So this is actually a special surprise for you. Especially since I've been doing Clock Tower all endings more during marathons. I feel it's a fun thing to show because you never see Laura in the Knight in Shining Armor. Just because it's the most inoptimal route to go, there's never a reason to check it normally. If you need both friends dead, there's better and faster ways of doing it. There's only one category where you need them both dead. But it doesn't really waste too much time to do it. And we get to see our good friend Lotte. So we're going to wait in jail. There we go. And here's Lotte. Funny enough, I know this is supposed to promote the idea of a glitchless marathon, glitchless runs. But a fun glitch that can happen, and I'm just going to talk about, I'm not going to do it, I'll talk about it, is since we love Lotte so much, as you guys remember during the FED skip I did in the beginning where we talked a lot at the altar, Lotte dies there. So Lotte clearly dies there, and in her dying breath, she tells us how to stop Bobby the Scissor Man. Funny, there is a skip in the game called the dog skip that allows you to run over the dog that saves most of the time in this game. It saves a substantial amount of time because you don't need the perfume and we don't need the robe. But there's also something called the reverse dog skip. And to find out the truth, it's actually faster to talk to Lotte in the altar than it is to find out the truth the normal route. So you'll end up doing in A ending runs, you'll go talk to Lotte in the altar, she'll die, and then you'll get thrown in jail, and then she'll come back to life just to get shot again. She's like that. What's that one guy who? You know what? I had a good joke here, but I'm blanking on it. She's kind of like a cat. She has 9 lives, and she's just kind of just blowing through all of them. Luckily, we've already grabbed the key. We know the truth now, and all we have to do is learn how to get into the altar room, and we'll be on track to beat the B ending of this game. I'm going to go with B because C is my favorite ending, and personally, if you're wondering, I'm a big Clock Tower fan. Clearly, I'm a big Clock Tower fan. I could talk with people about this game for ages. I own a Clock Tower shirt. It is beautiful. I buy all Clock Tower stuff. I'm actually in love with this game. I'm using a physical copy, by the way. This isn't an emulator. This is OG hardware. Yeah, Kenny. There you go. It's Kenny. But I play this game a lot. So that being said, I can talk people's ears off about it plenty of times. The main thing, though, is my favorite ending in the game, since I do like the lore of this a lot, the one I think is canon is C ending. And the reason why I think C ending is the canon one is mainly because there's 3 endings that have the potential to be canon. And these are A, B, and C. B doesn't seem too thematic. A could work, and C also works. It doesn't really seem like it would be B, though. C is my prediction just because it's the coolest in the game. And I could end the entire run with it, but I like a happy ending. So I think our friends deserve a chance, so I'm going to end the speedrun on S, and that's going to be after a few more runs. I'll talk to this book too. There we go. And now we can get back down. Also, during my past marathons, I always like to make this claim. I firmly like to believe, through very indirect means, that Clock Tower inspired Breath of the Wild and Super Mario Odyssey. Think about it. Super Mario Odyssey has a clock tower. This game is named Clock Tower. Clearly, Clock Tower inspired Odyssey. So Odyssey runners should really start coming to Clock Tower, because I think that's the natural next step. Once you play Odyssey, then you want to go to the roots, you want to go to the OG, you want to go to Clock Tower. But really, if you are wondering what Clock Tower did end up inspiring, it inspired a lot of games that have the idea to where you have to hide from your opponent. You can't just fight it. Resident Evil is still unique in the way it is. Don't get me wrong. Resident Evil did a lot in terms of creating the genre, but Clock Tower gave you this element to where you can't fight back. You are entirely vulnerable. Games like Amnesia, games like Outlast, games where you don't have the option to fight, all really take inspiration from Clock Tower in a way. Just because this is the way it's done. Realistically, though, probably the original survival or the original horror in games in general. I mean, realistically, I would say Sweet Home, but in theory, there were plenty of movie licensed games. So, if you really want one of the earliest ones, it would be Nightmare on Elm Street, which isn't. It's not really horror. It's one of those games that they tried selling for money. So. Anyway, you guys know what time it is. It's about that time to meet the dog once again. It's been a while since we've seen the dog. And we know how much I love the dog here. I became good friends with the dog over time. I became very good friends with the dog. Back in the old days when I used to speedrun this in glitch categories, the dog would kill me every time. The dog actually kills you if you do not have this entire get-up, so perfume and robe. And you usually have a few opportunities. The closest you're able to stand, which I've been doing every time, is right here. And it's very easy to die to the dog, and it's also very easy to soft lock the game if you're doing skips. Luckily for us, we can just walk past the dog. And we can start activating the end game, and I'm about to give you that special Dan fact. I don't like letting you have that info on Dan all at once. I believe in kind of bringing it to you as we go. So a little bit more info about Dan. And I want you guys to do some quick thinking before we see Dan again. For those of you who have been watching me this entire time, been enjoying the run, think about this for a quick moment. Now, I mentioned earlier, Bobby and Dan are twins. Bobby and Dan the man are twins, right? Now, why is Bobby so short? And why is Dan absolutely massive? A quick thought on that. But I am saying they are identical twins. They're entirely identical twins. There is nothing different about them. They look as similar as like night and night. They look as similar as bread and bread. They're like a sandwich. Look, dead simulator. I see all the similarities. But Dan does have a secret, and there is a secret as to why all this is happening. I'm just going to say, this isn't the first time there was a Clock Tower Massacre. The only reason the events of this game are known as the Clock Tower Massacre is because Jennifer managed to survive them, like, canonically. Jennifer survives the murders at this mansion. But this isn't the first time that Mary's done this, I would say. And Mary works at an orphanage. Anyway, I'll let you guys know more on the next run, on the next actual ending that we get to Dan. But let that brew in your thoughts here. And why is Dan so flammable? I mean, kerosene, but kerosene doesn't cover a baby that much normally, to my knowledge anyway. I mean, I've never poured kerosene on a baby, but I could be wrong. Also, most of the dialogue in this game is just, she's just panting there. It literally just says, ah, ah. The English translation is great. If you ever want to play this game casually, I highly recommend doing the English translation because you'll know more of the story. Unless you're a native Japanese speaker or really just took the language because you love Japanese, then, I mean, I guess if you want to go for it, go for it. You'll be able to understand technically more of the original intent, but that's not what we're going to be going for. Anyway, we're going back to the 3rd floor, and you guys remember, this time we didn't talk to the Crow. We did not free Brandon Lee, also known as the Crow. So what we're going to do is make it to the top. There we go. And this is more or less an auto-scroller, but this one actually does have a quick time event near the end. So I actually need to be prepared. And I'll give you a hint, this is a good ending. But I'll talk a little bit more what's stopping Bobby here. Because I haven't really talked too much about this at all, and you always hear about it. Time will cause adherence. What does it mean? Time will cause adherence. What could it possibly mean? So, as you can tell, the mansion, the clock tower is turned off. Jennifer turns it on right now. And I'll give you the full scoop on Bobby. So, Bobby's face is weird because Bobby's face is covered in tumors. Bobby is in this state to where he cannot die. He is immortal. You can say he died just by running with scissors, but by activating the clock tower, you have activated pretty much Bobby's death clock. You know how everyone has the hourglasses of time for, I guess, their lifespan? Bobby's ran out the moment you started this clock tower. Bobby was born dead. The fact that time has been stopped here for a while means he is able to be kept alive. It's too bad Laura didn't live. Here we go. And it's absolutely necessary I let this play out the entire time. You have to make sure she's dead, guys. Alright, she's dead. No surviving that. In theory, I could have ended it right when she started getting electrocuted, but I think it's more fun to watch just to make sure she doesn't get up. And it's kind of like in the movie Scream. You have to make sure they don't get up. Anyway, that's enough of good endings for a while. We're going to go on to a bad ending. It's not fun to always watch the same old endings. Entirely new route change, by the way. Remember that key that we needed for every single run? We don't need it anymore. Who needs keys? We don't need anything. All we're going to do is get the absolute worst ending in this game. I'm going to set up the safety. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a little bit of a boss fight. A little mini boss fight. So we're going to free the bird. But the bird doesn't enjoy freedom. He's an inside man now. So we're going to have to take out the bird. This is the only time you interact with the bird in this run, and we need it because the bird is going to tattle on us if we let him. And the bird will also kill us in a 1v1. Jennifer might lose unless she improvises. So we're going to use this bed sheet, and we're going to take out a bird. I'm going to teach you how. You grab your bed sheet, you get ready, and then you remember the wise words, snitches get stitches, and we're going to take out this bird. There we go. Bird is taken out. We don't need perfume or anything. The bird is down. And that bird will never be outside again, sadly. He's kind of stuck there. Been unfortunate, but this time we actually get to... Have you guys been wondering what's behind this door? And I think you're tired of Anne dying. Let's change it up a bit. We're not going to kill Anne this time. We're not going to let Anne fall out of that ceiling again. We're gonna see what's in this bathtub because you want to take a nice hot shower. And this is the most iconic scene in the entire game. I'll let it play out so you can enjoy it. I'll be quiet for a moment. There we go. So the reason why this is the most iconic is most people will tend to get it on their first try. It's very rare somebody doesn't get it just because of natural curiosity. Most people think they should probably check out the room. Oh, we might be dead. Bobby, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Run, run. Hey, we made it. All right, that's good. Also, I'm going to do something fun, a little risky strat before we get to the rest of this. So we're going to immediately re-enter the room that we just left. Again, Bobby likes to be sneaky. He doesn't think, hey, what if she re-entered the room? Maybe I should keep going in. So we're going to hide from him like this. If it works, you see the most hilarious way of escaping Bobby. If it doesn't, I have the backup. So let's see. It worked. Oh my god, it worked. And Bobby's not the sharpest tool in the shed. Most of the sharpness went to the scissors in this scenario. We just enter the room. We enter the room, exit the room, then re-enter, and Bobby, for some reason, doesn't realize that. Anyway, you know, this game actually has a really amazing pool I haven't shown you guys yet. So, I'm going to show you guys the pool in this game because this ending's chill. We have plenty of time for this ending. I'm going to show you guys the really awesome pool. We'll just check this window out. We'll check this window out. There's a really cool pool outside, guys. Trust me, there's a really awesome pool. We can go swimming. We can do everything. Huh. I wonder what that could be. Oh, well, there's Anne. Well, I mean, Anne didn't die to the ceiling this time, guys. I mean, there's still glass involved, but I'm sorry to say, but there is not a single run where Anne gets to live. There will never be a run where Anne gets to live, sadly. It takes way too long for Laura to die, so she gets to live, mainly due to speed. Anne will almost always die. Well, actually, she literally will always die during a speed run, unless somebody wants to take it in an optimal path. The only time she doesn't die is during an entirely glitched ending. So what I'm doing right now is, this is called G ending. It's extremely similar to H ending. The only difference is that both of your friends die before you decide to go to the car. There we go. So this time, knowing two of our friends are dead and Lot's not really important to us, we're going to leave the mansion in the car again. Luckily, we don't have to wait for the entirety of the credits. We can just peace out after this. The reason why we don't wait for the credits is it's really easy to tell if you got the ending or not. If you merely booked it here, you got H. If you saw Anne die through the window, you got G. So we're going to let the car escape, and then we'll go on to the next one, which will be C ending. Here we go. Boop. Alright, now we got two more endings in the game. We have C and S ending. In theory, I could make either one the ending, but I believe in a happy ending, so let's go for that. Also, as I mentioned earlier, all the RNG is decided those first two menus where I was pushing the buttons. The one that just says clock tower, and then the one with the actual menu. Perfect RNG usually wants you to go as quick as possible, but it can vary. And perfect RNG changes depending on the run you do. Since we have so many different endings, we'll see. If I get a staff, I'll do C most likely. If I don't get the staff, I'll do S. Alright, wow, we've been getting really good West Wing keys. Normally, you don't get this lucky. The worst I've ever had in this room, because it's a 50-50 split if you get the key in this box, is a 8 times in a row where I didn't get the key. And that is a possibility, sadly. It can happen. I've had it happen, actually, I think during a marathon, believe it or not. During an all endings marathon, too. This is my second time doing all endings for a marathon. The first time I've ever done it was during, actually, a Halloween marathon. But I've been pushing this category very hard to make it into more marathons. I think Clock Tower in general has a lot to offer. Although, in terms of glitchless, it does fill more of a role of the standard point and click, but obviously a lot of people do have an interest for glitchless speedruns. So it's interesting to watch games be just ran quickly. No tricks up the sleeve, just solid gameplay. And you guys will be happy to know there's actually a lot of sentiment from the similar-minded people on the Clock Tower leaderboards. Talking a bit about the evolution of the game, originally I mentioned earlier that Bakba Soup ran this. There's also a lot of Brazilian runners as well who would go as quickly as possible to get the robe, to get the perfume. It wasn't until skips were found for this game that it really evolved into the game it is today. And it went down from 18 minutes, and since I've been running it, I've taken it down to a low 12, which I think is very good. Although that is with glitches, I do like to show that I can run this glitchless. And yes, poor Anne. She'll die every time. You have to wonder, where did the body go, guys? As you may have noticed, all the bodies are disappearing. I know it's limitations of the system, but I think there's something a bit more to the fact that these bodies are disappearing. What could they possibly be doing with the bodies? Tough to say. We might find that out on this next one, though. Anyway, let's go back to the escape room. Also, if you're wondering how am I on a daily basis, you see Jennifer in the bottom left right now? That, with her mouth open, that's me on a daily basis, if you see it. That's me on a daily basis right there. Just my mouth open. Me on a daily basis right there. Like, if you took me and put me in this game over that frame, that's literally me. Probably constantly. If anyone's watched my stream, you'll know that's exactly right. Especially when I play Clock Tower. The main issues that I have with this game as a speed game is it does turn into an RNG fest if you're not playing all endings. All endings is a great category because the only time you reset is strategically or to advance onto the next run. Because you have to get the essential 100% in this game. The endings list is really the only thing that counts as 100%. In theory, you could count S ending as it, but for games like Clock Tower, where you have multiple endings, and a lot of games in the franchise like this, it's easier to define it based on the endings. Because Clock Tower PS1, it has, like, I think up to 5 endings per character, so total 10 endings. Haunting Ground has A, C, and a few other endings. When you have games that have multiple endings that you can potentially get, it becomes a bit more optimal to run it that way. So, in theory, the only optional option left was, for Clock Tower, you had to do all endings for the 100%. This is essentially the 100% of the game, and you go through all of the game's content as you would normally go. I mean, you don't go through every single nook and cranny, just because there are some things in this game that aren't going to progress you, and are more designed solely for the enjoyment of the player, which I think is very cool. This game did a lot right and has a lot more playtime than I'm showing. World record for S ending, which is my favorite category, it's how I made my mark in speedrunning, is I got it down to about, I think, 12:21 now. I brought it down very low. I actually beat a TAS. I mean, it's an old TAS, but it is a TAS. The more recent one actually has optimal strats, so I can't beat that one. But I brought it down very low. And one thing to note is, finally, we got what we needed. So, for you guys, we have the decision. Do you want to do S ending, or do you want to do C ending? For right now, I will check chat. I'll let you guys know what kind of finale you want. Give you a little bit of an option, I suppose. We have until I find out the truth in order to decide if you want C or S to be the finale. Both of them are going to do the exact same run, but I can do either one right now. Alright, we'll do the best ending last, so right now we'll make our way to C ending. And C ending is my favorite in the game, but favorite canon ending. S is my favorite by far. I messed up the trick again, but that's okay. It's a bit of RNG on how she decides to work. You just pseudo-manipulate it. There we go. I was just dancing around because we had to wait for that doll either way. And C, we end up seeing most of the fun anyway. We know when C ends because it's the last meaningful action, but you guys actually get to see us find out the truth in the other way now. I've mentioned there's 2 ways of finding out the truth. We're about to see that second way. And again, Jennifer must learn, so we have to talk to this hole a couple times. And we have to use the plank of wood. I like doing the skip in order to pass it, but since this is glitchless, we can't float like a magical 14-year-old girl. Jennifer has to hide her power level from the world. Anyway, what did that book mean? The book means we can do this. And this is the optimal way, this is the optimal item you want, because 1, you get an early item, which in a normal run is great. The other fact is, I don't know why. I don't know why they decided to do this either. So, for the demon idol, you have to learn where to get it. That's the learning they made you do. But for the staff, you have to learn how to use it. The weird thing is, you're never required to learn how to use the demon idol. For some reason, 14-year-old Jennifer just has the innate knowledge of how to use a demon idol, or I'm not too sure how it works. In every single way, the demon idol is superior outside of A ending. And even then, the demon idol is still nicer to have, because you just get a better item in general. And you can skip a room, too. So there's literally not a single run where you want a staff, ideally. In glitchless, yes, there is. But for all endings normal, you always want demon idols. The more demon idols you get, you saved a lot more time. Another fun fact about the demon idol is it's also the canon item. Because while there may be 2 ways to discover the truth in this game, there's only one that's actually canon. Also, a fun skip that we actually gotta do here because of developer oversight. We only have to talk to this bag, so we're going to talk to this bag, and we're going to steal this chap's wallet, and we're going to leave the room. And this is about 12 seconds of dialogue right here. So we're going to talk to the bag, and then we're immediately going to leave. And then I'll tell you guys all about this room. So this room is the sealed room. And Miss Mary threw the sky in here, and as Jennifer just learned, this is our father. This is Mr. Simpson, Mr. Walter Simpson. Now, if you guys wanted to watch a 1.5-minute long cutscene, we'll talk to the body. In the old days, we thought we had to do that. You never have to actually do that. Fun fact about this room right here, before I go more into the dad, if you stop at all, if you take your time in this room, you will murder your run. I tell that to all new runners who play this game. That room will kill you more than any other room in the game. And the reason being is because Bobby will spawn out of that box potentially if you dilly-dally. If you wait, Bobby will check. He'll pop out of the box as a jump scare. You have a 50% chance of Bobby, and there's just a joke jump scare that you can also do. Anyway, the upside about this part is we literally get to go to the end game right now, which I might crush my estimate, believe it or not. My estimate, I always assume worst case scenario. In practice, this run took me about 2 hours, and that was within optimal time. Optimally, I might have a good time. It's going to be roughly about my PB pace for glitchless, which is about a 150. That's my expectation. I could be wrong, but that's the time I'm about looking at. And as I mentioned, I can literally just pop this in, and she does it. You don't need to worry about any of the staff stuff. You don't have to worry about that. You literally just begin the end game now. You guys remember how long it took to use the staff going to all those rooms? We can just do this now. And this is the exact same thing as B ending. There's only one difference in requirement, and that is the elevator. That's the difference. And now, I think one question a lot of you may have, and this also made me wonder when I first started playing. So, for FED, if you remember the beginning of the run, I was able to use the continue to get multiple endings in one go. However, in this game, you're not really allowed to do that. And good endings, the good ending places you at the most optimal time. So that ends up becoming the start of the auto-scroller. It ends up becoming the elevator. It'll put you on the point that the most recent point that you had control. That's the general idea that I'll go to. Wherever you last had control, it will put you. So, for example, in F ending, the reason it worked is because in F, it killed us before we got into the elevator. So the last point of control was in that hallway, so we can talk to Lotte like we're doing right now. In E, it killed us in the elevator. So the last point of control was the elevator selection. So we can go back into the elevator and do D ending. If I continued from D, it would lock me into only D. It would be impossible for me to get anything else. So when I get endings like C, when I got B ending, it would keep playing that final cutscene again and again. There's no way of going back at a certain point. The game will usually want you to get better endings. And since we did learn the truth about Daddy-O, now what did our dad have to say in that minute-and-a-half long speech? So, Walter Simpson was actually a on-call doctor, and he came to the Clock Tower Mansion roughly about 10 years earlier to this game. He came to the Clock Tower Mansion because Miss Mary Barrows was giving birth to delightful twins. But upon giving birth, Dan bit off your father's hand. He ate his hand. Of all the things, Dan ate his hand. So as a rational person, Mary decided to throw your father in the dungeon so he can starve to death. Funny enough, it wasn't oxygen, he starved. So, what did I say earlier about Dan and Bobby being twins? And there's this big operation going around. Now, Dan has the taste for human flesh. Bobby is a serial killer where he has a giant pair of scissors and he goes around killing people. And Mary works at an orphanage. What's adding up here? Where did Anne's body go? What were they going to do with Anne's body? So, I'm actually going to fill you in right now. This thing right here is, I'll tell you that one later, but the whole operation is Dan, Bobby, and Mary are cannibals. You know all that meat we saw in the locker? That's human meat. That's orphan meat. Orphan meat is where Dan is getting his, delightful composure, I suppose. They've been eating orphan meat for literal years. Because Mary just has a source of orphan meat on hand. I guess like most, women in their late 30s? She just has an abundance of orphan meat lying around in the orphanage. So Anne became orphan meat. Laura, in this ending, becomes orphan meat. Well, actually, I guess they don't become orphan meat because they just die. Lotte also dies, but everyone beforehand, they were consumed. They became orphan meat. And that's the plot of Clock Tower. That's the grand scheme. Mary adopts the kids, Bobby kills them, and Dan consumes. We're going to floor 2, by the way, and now we're locked into C ending. Also, clearly Mary played favorites of the twins. Dan's the one who gets to lie in the cradle under the star all day, while Bobby's the one who has to go out and kill teenagers. Meanwhile, Dan gets to literally be like Jabba the Hutt with his orphan meat. Also, time for C ending, which is my favorite of the canon endings. This time, it's just like D ending, but we know the truth, and we're not going to let her mess with us. We're not going in for that hug. We know hugs are bad. You know what the DARE program taught us? Just don't do hugs. Well, I guess from Miss Mary. Also, fun little fact, if you notice the portrait at the bottom left, it will end up changing whenever you can see her heal the face turn. When it's just showing the basic portrait, it's a good Mary, or a so-called good Mary. The moment it turns, you have the evil Mary. And this is the most iconic, well, not iconic, but this is the most action-packed ending in the entire game, and by far my favorite of the canon endings, and in general. I like S because it's happy, but, well, check this out. You climb up the ladder, and this is the final duel. She's chasing us with a knife. Also, I mean, she got overpowered by a 14-year-old girl, but she's chasing us with a knife. And we have one more panic event here, and then we have one more ending after. Yep. And we'll kick her down. Alright. We don't need to watch the rest of this because it's just Bobby getting taken out by the clock tower once again. That's not a fun part to watch. I think Mary getting kicked off the side of the clock tower is pretty fun to watch. Anyway, final ending of the game. All we have left is S ending. At this point, we got A, we got B, we got C, D, E, F, G, and H. All we need now is the best ending in the game and the good ending. And we have plenty of time. I was expecting 2 hours ideally, and we're probably going to end up about, I think 157 is my bet. But we'll see. And we get a demon idol, this can actually save a lot of time. And one of the most impressive parts about Clock Tower speedruns, especially in marathon settings, is you don't have the privilege of making it a reset gauntlet. In all endings, you don't have that privilege. On the first ending you do, which is why we do A, because it's the hardest one, it's the one you want perfect. Because it'll take the longest by far. And the most important thing to note is, while the game may be a reset gauntlet in general, it doesn't have to be. It's more entertaining when it's not. If any of you guys ever watched a Clock Tower stream, it often ends up being the person resetting for perfect RNG because they want to go for world record in whatever category they're going for. I'm guilty of it. A lot of other runners are. All endings is really the best category to watch because of this, if you like a continuous run. And that's just because a lot of the runs are going to die outside of your control if you run this. In a marathon setting, though, you don't have those privileges. So it becomes, okay, I didn't get my key. Do I want to have my reset, or do I want to just run through and see if I can get it? And that usually happens because there's certain milestones, like in a casual speedrun of this, ascending, and it's about 30 seconds to the key and about 2.5 minutes to the book. So you're expecting about 3 minutes per attempt at most. And 30 seconds, actually more like 15 at the least. And the problem with that is if you're doing all endings or a marathon, no one's going to be cool with you resetting. It's like, oh, sorry, gotta reset. Sorry, gotta reset. Sorry, gotta reset. Nobody's going to be cool with that. Nobody wants that. Just because it's going to be... Like, nobody wants to watch so many resets during a marathon. The same thing happens with a lot of other speedruns as well. Like Pokemon, they'll let you usually reset to get your perfect seed, but they only give you so many attempts. They're not going to let you have every attempt under the sun, sadly. And even though you may need it, and the run's less interesting if you don't have the perfect seed, but the main idea is you're able to think on the fly because of this, and the game doesn't fail. And that's my favorite part, because I never know which one of the rooms I'm going to. And personally, when I first heard about this game in general, I immediately got into it. My history with Clock Tower was my buddy described the game to me as you play as a teenage girl and a guy chases you with a giant pair of scissors. My first exposure to the series was obviously the PS1 Clock Tower, also known as Clock Tower 2. And that game was kind of a joke, to be honest. I mean, I love it, and it did get some good scares out of me. But at a certain point, there's actually a fun tactic you can do in the final level where you dodge them the same way every time. And that's not fun. Like, earlier in the game, you would dodge him. Like, you would dodge him, but then he would stab into your hiding spots. He would try to kill you if you tried repeating your patterns. But in Clock Tower PS1, there's this one specific doorway you can go into that would just kill you. Like, it would be a forced panic event. But the problem is, the Scissor Man would just run straight off the cliff every time. He would never learn. So if you're ever in danger, oh, the Scissor Man's coming after us, you would just immediately book it to that cliff, because then you wouldn't die and you can continue in exploration mode. Realistically, we don't see a lot of Bobby in this run, as you guys can tell. You see him in the beginning of the game, and that's ideally about it. The beginning and the end. There are plenty of ways to trigger Bobby in the game, but we don't want to do those. It would take way too long to lose Bobby each time. In the ideal room we actually want to lose him in is the book room, because we can actually see Bobby get taken down by a bookshelf. Jennifer loves pushing bookshelves down on people, and she also believes that knowledge is power. Add 2 and 2 together, and it all kind of works out. Anyway, for the final ending, let's hope we get the Demon Idol. That would be great if we got it. If we didn't get it, we do have the time, so we have plenty of time on hand. Alright, so this is a blank room. We actually haven't seen too many of those. So let's go get the ceremony key. And I'm going to set the upstairs just in case. Funny enough, this room is actually the hardest room in the game for casual runners. Or casual players, not runners. As I mentioned earlier, I pop into a lot of people playing Clock Tower casually. If they stream it, I'll hop into the stream. It's a way for me to relive the game for the first time each time. Because it's from a fresh set of eyes, and I know it's gonna happen, but they don't. And most of the time, Let's Players want to avoid spoilers, which is perfectly okay. Nothing wrong with that. And it makes it better for me, because then I can just watch them walk into all these things. Bonk. And they'll check every room. Usually I offer my tips. But for the most part, I love watching Clock Tower Let's Players, provided I understand it. Even then, I can tune it on in the background. I really do love this game. I mean, I think you guys already grasped that, but clearly I do love it. Anyway, going on to more of this. In general, actually, from my background, I don't only do Clock Tower. I do love Clock Tower, but I'm a huge horror fanatic. So all that history I was telling you about Sweet Home, Alone in the Dark, I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, I'm really... Oh, wait, I don't need to go that way yet. I am really into the genre, and I'm really into horror speedruns in general. Clock Tower is the game that got me into it, but Clock Tower has inspired me to do plenty of horror games. If you guys recognize my voice at all, or even the name, you'll notice I helped out Alyssa Mitchip with commentary during Little Nightmares. And I just play a ton of horror games because I think it's a great genre that is underrepresented. In the age of, like, everyone's playing Super Mario 64 or Odyssey or Breath of the Wild, you don't really get a lot of love for games that are a bit spookier. Anyway, we end the game with the staff game, sadly. I thought we would get the Demon Idol, but it does not want us having it. We'll check this room over here. If it's either Crow or Staff, we'll go for it. Hopefully it's Staff. Yep, it's Bathroom. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to run upstairs really quick. We need to find out the truth. So I mentioned earlier, there's certain flags that need to be achieved in order to make it all the way to the end of this. So for S ending, what are the flags? I've been saying, oh, there's flags. Are they red flags? Are they blue flags? Are they green flags? I guess it might be checkered flags because there's a speed run, but the flags are just little points in the game that say, hey, you got this. So the flag that we need is we need to find out we need to find out the truth about Bobby, the truth about Mary, and we need to free the crow. But it's not enough to do that. We need to find out the truth from our dad. Because that guy in the corner was our dad. Mr. Walter Simpson, that was our dad. So you need to find out the truth from him to get the best possible ending. And in general, like my horror speedruns, I picked up a lot more this year. In the past, I would do games like Little Nightmares, Silent Homecoming. Starting for 2018, I've really amped up my streaming. I've noticed a lot of viewers in chat. I'm not directly responding to it, but I do read it. Don't get me wrong. I have been reading it. And I have seen the follow, so I would like to thank anybody who has done that. And I feel like on this part of the game, a lot of the lore has already been said. I'll talk about one more fun fact about Dan. A lot of the tricks you guys already know. A lot of the tactics. If you guys really want, we do have time for that 1.5-minute long dad scene. If we want to watch a forced cutscene, we could, but it's reading Japanese. If you really want to extend the run by a forced 1:30, we can do that right now. I'm not sure how much we want to extend the run by a forced 1:30. You know, I'll leave it up to you. All right, you know what? We have time. I'll show you guys what I used to deal with. Before I got into the game, and this is the funniest thing that ever happened. I'll show it to you guys since I think we are, if I remember correctly, way ahead of time. I'm going to be way ahead of my estimate, so I might as well. We're going to watch the dad scene. It's 1.5 minutes of Japanese text. We're watching it, guys. We're watching it anyway. We need to caress our father. You want to watch Jennifer Connelly caress her dad? We need to do this. It is mandatory. It's a donation incentive, guys. We've met the donation incentive of $0, so we're going to watch Jennifer Simpson hug a dead body. Pretty much, it's giving the memo I said earlier. He mentions pretty much how he died in this room and how he gave birth, he delivered the twins and how he got his hand bitten off. But I want to give you guys a quick fun fact right now. So, back in the early days of Clock Tower, as I mentioned, I got into Clock Tower actually about a year ago, roughly about. And before I got into it, the world record was a 1524 for any percent, and with glitches. But I brought myself into this game, and I wanted to make an impact. So I found a brand new skip called the tech skip, and I chopped down the time to a 1443. Nobody's even seen that before. At a certain point with all of my improvements to this game, we finally decided to check out a TAS. First thing we notice, we never had to watch this cutscene. As you guys saw from earlier, to find out the truth, it's only with that bag. We never actually had to watch this. This is a literal minute and a half. I always thought, hey, this would make a great donation incentive. This would make a great time for me to get water during runs. We never had to actually watch this. But I think it makes for a good, if people in a marathon want to watch it, only once. You don't have to watch it every time. And you get to watch Jennifer Connelly hug a dead man, which, I mean, I dream of that every night. Kind of. But here we go. The sad part is in the PC version, they changed it up to you have to talk to every scrap of paper and the dad in this room. So it kind of sucks. Anyway, now that we know the truth, we're going to have to make our way over to learn how to use the staff. Now, I know what you're thinking, hey, wait a minute. If we want to learn how to use the staff, aren't we going to run into Mary? No, we're not going to run into Mary. So the game actually acts reasonably if you learn how the truth works. So we now know the truth, so we're not going to actually act normal around Mary. If we see Mary, Jennifer's going to have the natural reaction to escape from Mary. Which is it's a natural desire. I mean, if somebody's trying to kill you, you kind of want to escape. If you're aware they're trying to kill you anyway. But that's pretty funny, though, back with the old days where we found out we didn't need that cutscene. I lost world record literally within a day because a minute and a half time save was the freest thing in the world. In any game where the speedrun lasts 15 minutes or even 20 minutes, if you save like 1/10 of that time for free, you're going to get a free world record. I mean, eventually I got it back, and I have it to this day. I've actually had it for over a year now because I've been playing this for a while, and I've been improving my own times. I believe it's not enough that I just get a world record in this game. I want to see this game succeed. I've been helping new runners plenty. I love this game. I want to see it succeed. I want to see more of it. Which is why I submit this game to marathons. I think it is a unique experience. Even glitchless, while it's all point and click, it still has things that are entertaining to watch, and it's a fun story. This game does have a lot to offer, and this is the final time we're freeing the crow, so he's actually free for once, and we're ending with a free crow. I'm happy with that. I call that crow Brandon Lee because I'm a movie nerd too, and Brandon Lee was the actor who played the crow in the movie The Crow. Which, if you don't know The Crow, it's, I guess, if you're into goth stuff, I guess you'll like it. Let's go back to this room. And ultimately, I actually have gotten a few of my world records beaten in this game. I used to have it in almost every category. Now I have it in only a few of I have it in most of the categories. All the short ones, I don't have it in any of the short ones. I don't have it now B ending. And the game has improved a lot. And pretty much, yeah, the game is its own randomizer by far. This game is absolutely brutal. If anyone wants to get into Clock Tower speedrunning, I always suggest play the game without RNG seeds first. Don't worry about your RNG seed. The only ones you need to care about are the key, West Wing key in that first room I always went to, and you need to make sure you get the Demon Idol. Any other route is going to be killer. My favorite part of this as well was when a lot of new runners start, they're like, oh, you know, this game looks easy, and then they realize, wait a minute, I'm never getting that luck I want. And I know in terms of my Clock Tower bucket list, I want to learn Haunting Ground very soon, and Remothered. So both of those are in my chopping block, as is Clock Tower 1. I actually bought the game a while back, and then I kind of got annoyed because I found the game for 20 bucks cheaper, and I gave it to my buddy. Which I guess is, in its own right, a good thing. I think it's pretty cool that I can give that to my buddy. But, on the upside, we don't need the ham this time. If we want ham, we can grab the ham, but we don't need the ham. All we need is the insecticide, and we are just going to go straight to the room this time. We don't need to poison ourselves because we already know the truth. The only reason to enter the room is for that. And you know what? For the JonTron reference, I'm going to grab the ham. And the only reason I'm doing that, one, I think JonTron's a funny dude. But more importantly, as a little subtle fact, for a lot of you guys who ended up following me, if you want a fun, like I guess a fun fact here, or a little trivia about me, the runner Ecdycis, First off, everybody pronounces that name wrong, and I totally understand it. I've actually been really happy with Sloa. He got my name dead on accurate. But the other thing is, a lot of people, especially during some of my IRL streams, have commented that I look like JonTron. A younger, I guess, beardless JonTron. If I had a bird, I think it'd be more like it, but I don't mind it. Like, there's worse things to be called, I suppose. But I have been told I look like JonTron before. By more than one person, oddly enough. So I guess a little fun fact. Oh, that's more trivia about JonTron and me than it is the actual game. But JonTron did do a clock tower video, which I believe did bring a lot of popularity to this game. Because again, this game was relatively unknown outside of Japan. The people who found out about it are just because they really love the game. And in fact, we actually met a person through the speedrunning Discord, because when we started the community, we also made the Discord right about the time I came in, and we pushed for a lot more community in general, which I recommend if you want anything to do with Clock Tower, any of the games, definitely join that Discord. It's filled with awesome people. Hey, we didn't get the Mary cutscene. We're good. The Mary cutscene just wastes a bit of time, but it's no major deal. We got the key we need, and we're actually on pace for the end of the run. All we have to do is learn how to use the staff, and we'll be good. We don't have to worry about learning the truth, because we can do that from Lotte again. We never saw Lotte die, so we're good. There we go. But yeah, they're all awesome, and all the Clock Tower runners will run a variety of different games. You have Nightcry runners, Clock Tower 1, Clock Tower 3 runners, Haunting Ground. I think the only thing that really didn't become a part of it was Remothered, and I think they made their own Discord. Kind of like Resident Evil 7 status, but... Anyway, let's go learn about the staff, and then we're gonna say goodbye to our one friend one more time. And you guys know what friend I'm talking about. It's my favorite character in the game. Well, I guess outside of Jennifer. Jennifer is quite literally my favorite character in probably most games. I love everything about her style and everything about it. I noticed I'm drawn to a lot of horror characters that have, like, the blue and white, like, dress thing. I'm not sure why. Anyway, knowledge is power, so we're taking down this bookcase. It has survived for too long. And we don't have to worry about the books anymore, we just have to read the wall. It's like the ancient old cave paintings of old, where you had to read hieroglyphics and other fun cave paintings. And we're almost done with the game. Now that we know how to now we learned how to use the staff, we can make it into that room again. We freed the crow, we talked to the dad, we have one more thing left to do, and that's find the truth. And we're gonna find that very soon. I would like to give a shout out though to the Clock Tower community. A lot of those guys are really great. They helped me learn, especially a lot of the old guys like THK and Playa, and then just all the old runners in general. They put a lot of work for me to go into this, and newer runners as well. I've been very happy with them. This game has had more life this year than when I was running it in the past. For a good amount of time, like once I got the sub 13, it became a one-man army to where I was really the only one doing anything with this game. And it makes sense because this game is taxing. I feel like a lot of speedruns can be taxing. A lot of runners put a lot of work into their games. So it makes sense that the runs do get a bit overbearing at times. But Clock Tower in particular is one of those things where I've known some runners who've left immediately because they won't get runs because of nothing of their own fault. Although I think it would be fun to have a glitchless category. I think I'd bring back a decent amount of the older runners just because they like doing glitchless. But at the same time, I do think for a point and click, especially for a point and click, this game has a lot of fun tricks to offer. Like, in comparison to glitchless, glitched makes the game an entirely different game. I love glitchless just because I love this game. But let's say S-ending for me took about, I think, 22 minutes. Glitchless, I do it in 10 less. Or glitched, I do it in 10 less. And that's just from a bunch of minor skips that add up. Anyway, it's our old friend, the dog. So let's doll up for the dog. Let's doll up for Bobby. Let's put on our Sunday best. Let's dress up. Because not only do we have the dog, we also have lot. And we care about her a lot. If you know what I mean. I think Lotte is a great character in this game. Sadly, she doesn't make it. She'll never make it in any scenario. She's always the one who dies the most. But she did great. And sadly, a lot of people do think Lotte's a boy. I did mention that earlier, but I guess that sprite at the bottom left does look a bit like a teenage boy. But when you look at Lotte's sprite, she's clearly a girl. And ultimately, my favorite category of this game by far is S in all endings. I actually, that's what I'm submitting to most marathons these days. The shorter categories don't really get too fun unless you're to do a gauntlet where you do like 10 of them in a row. Just because they're quick. They don't really offer the same tricks. They don't offer an insight to the story. For the most part, all endings, it shows you the entirety of the game. It shows you parts of the game you never would see if you didn't do all endings. So, by far, this is the category I enjoyed the most, and it got chopped down a lot in terms of the basic. Last time I ran this, I actually got a world record during a marathon. This time, I guess technically for a glitchless, I would have it, but nobody runs glitchless clock tower. It's just more of a thing I like to showcase, especially for Slowest Marathon. He had a great idea, and I do believe Clock Tower does work well as a glitchless. It shows a lot of people the story. And you have one more time with the cradle under the stars. So, a lot of you guys still might have one more question. Why is Dan so big? So, I'm not going to spoil anything, but Dan and Bobby are twins. Oh, and he pushed the button. Dan and Bobby are twins. So Dan kind of eats, but Dan's covered in orphan meat. So I mentioned earlier the entire operation is to get a surplus of orphan meat, but Dan's absolutely covered in orphan meat. Like, that's a giant orphan meat exoskeleton. So I'm not too sure what happens to Dan after the end of this. I guess you'd have to stick around and play Clock Tower, the sequels, to find out. He might survive, he might not, we don't know. There might be references to him. There's definitely references to the Clock Tower murders. And there's definitely a Scissor Man that comes back, but we don't know who it is. But yes, that's why it's so flammable, because he's wearing an orphan meat exoskeleton, which I imagine, I guess orphan meat's slightly more flammable than normal meat. I mean, I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. I've definitely been wrong before. I mean, I think there is some question to my claim that Breath of the Wild was inspired by Clock Tower, but I think it's accurate. Anyway, we have about a minute left in this run, and time will come up on the final panic events. There's one more panic event in this game, and it will happen at the top of the Clock Tower. You guys know how this goes. We want to go 4-3 immediately, and that's actually S-ending strat. You just hold up, and then you start mashing the action button, because then you can just immediately go. And slow for you, I'll call time once we're on it. And we're getting close. We're actually beating my glitchless PB, funny enough. And this has been Clock Tower, by the way. We're heading back up. You know what time will cause adherence, and it's stopping Bobby. And this is the best ending in the game. Sadly, not canon, but I believe in a happy ending. So we're going to show off the ending, and then probably just say goodbyes and all that. But this is the ending right here. Time will cause adherence. We're going to stop Bobby. And as you can see, we actually have a surprise waiting for us. I wonder who it's going to be. And we'll see if I PB'd. Because in theory, I am PBing. Barely, but it is a PB. And this is also including the dad minute-and-a-half cutscene and a bunch of detours I also took to show you guys fun facts. But this was just a really solid run. I didn't feel at all bad about this run. I think this was very well done. I feel very happy with this run in general. Anyway, we're about to come up on time. Once we lose the ending here, once the panic event ends, it'll be time, and I'll call it out. Here we go. And time. I'm looking about a 1:58:45 on my end, but we'll see on the official timer. A 1:58:46, that's about right. And this is the end right here. We saved the crows, and they came back to help us. And we actually have a friend survive. Now, a few things I do want to say. Since this is the end of the marathon, I do want to thank you all so much for giving me the opportunity to run this. I want to thank Slow and the rest of the people with no glitches allowed. I want to thank for everyone who stuck around. I love running Clock Tower. I love everything about this game. I'm submitting it to a multitude of marathons, both glitched and glitchless. I actually have submitted this to GDQ, but something tells me GDQ might not be too cool with the point and click. But I think this game does have a lot of interesting tricks to offer. It has a lot more. If you either you want to see more Clock Tower or just general horror stuff, shoot me a follow. I know a lot of you already have. And I'm definitely grateful for those of you who followed, those of you who are watching, especially familiar faces. I'm going to give you guys the best ending in the game, and it's honestly just a great picture to have. So instead of being able to just be alone, we have our friend here, and we get to stare out of the clock tower, and the rain's going to stop. The sun will come out, and it's a new day for Jennifer, and it's a new day for us. It's not the marathon end. You have a lot more speedruns coming up. I just want to thank you all so much for watching my my segment here, and I want to thank you all so much again for that. Anyway, this has been Clock Tower. This has been Ecdycis with the Clock Tower. I hope the rest of the stream is great. We have a lot of great runners coming up, and some truly awesome glitchless marathons, or some glitchless runs. Definitely should the other runners to follow as well. They put a lot of work into this, and I'm happy again for Slow for doing this. All right. And I'll do one of these. Let's see.